Hey guys, with Prepatch coming in 2 days, I figured I'd just make a quick Discipline Priest guide focused on healing ICC. First thing I'm going to do is go over a quick spec, the spec I would use for Prepatch. A lot of the talents in Discipline don't change from Wrath, although they are like slightly buffed or altered in small ways, so we're just going to get 2 improved Power Word Shield. We're going to get, when Disciplines is 6% healing. Agility, this is just 10% mana reduction on our instance. We're going to get, this is like one of the big changes in the talent tree. We're going to get Evangelism and Archangel. Then we're going to get Atonement, Inner Focus, PI. We're going to get, for Prepatch, I would get 2 in Soul Warding. I'd grab Rapture, Borrowed Time, Renewed Hope, PS, Divine Aegis, Grace, and Barrier. So the main changes here, Soul Warding is nerfed. You need 2 points to get 0 seed on your Power Word Shield, which is kind of a bummer. Those 2 points are actually valuable. In certain fights, if you don't want to be pressing Power Word Shield a lot, you're going to be taking points out of this, putting them in other places. Evangelism, Archangel, this is just a part of the Atonement package where when you use your Atonement spells, Holy Fire and Smite, they heal for 100% of the damage dealt. This is like a really efficient way to heal, but it's not like really high throughput. So this is like, if you're just in maintenance mode, where like on Deathbringer or something, where it's just a tank taking damage, you'll just be pressing Smite and Holy Fire. You get Evangelism stacks up to 5 from these abilities, and then you can use them with Archangel to get some mana and some healing. You're going to be wanting to time this Archangel to use it when you have like big healing phases. So you're going to be like using your Atonement heals in downtime, and then once you have to, spam your POH a bunch, you're going to press Archangel before you do that. You can also just press this on cooldown. Your PI is 2 minutes now instead of, 125 before. Inner Focus has a 45-second CD, so you're just going to be like using this as more of a rotational low cooldown ability. You can just, if you don't want to think about it, you can just macro it into POH and Greater Heal if you want. It does not affect him anymore, so you can take that macro out if you have it. Rapture has changed, where it's just every 12 seconds you get 7% mana back, and it no longer stacks, so you can't like line up a bunch of shields like on an Infest or on any other big damage event and get all your mana back. You just want to have this proccing every 12 seconds. So you're going to want to have an ICD tracker for this, and just every 12 seconds pop one on one of the tanks or a target that's like debuffed taking damage. Borrowed Time is also nerfed, so you get less spell haste. It's going to be harder for you to get to your GCD cap, especially considering you're going to be casting far less Power Word Shields than you were before. Your Divine Aegis is also, its duration is buffed by 25% from 12 seconds to 15 seconds. This is pretty huge. It also, I believe the cap in Wrath is 20% of the caster's HP. Now it's up to 40%. So if you have like 40k HP in your ICC gear, it's going to be capped at like 15k or something, which is like pretty huge, right? That'll absorb a full infest. Grace is buffed up to 24% instead of 9%. So Barrier is just a 3-minute CD that puts a big 25% DR bubble for 10 seconds, which is really nice. Going to be useful for any kind of raid damage. You pretty much going to be using this in the same places you would be using DSAC in ICC. So you're going to always get Divine Fury, because this just reduces the cast time of your big single target heals, which are way more efficient now, and also your Atonement damage spells. So casting those without this feels really bad. Then here you can either go, if you're just like going to be purely raid healing, you can get 2 in Spell Haste, although I would probably just grab 2 in Empowered Healing. For the fights that are actually difficult in ICC, and ideally you're going to be dropping healers really low, because I think your throughput's going to be really high. You're going to be wanting to tank heal a decent amount if you're like super low on healer count, and your like single target heals actually kind of hit for a lot now. So like Blast Shield, just crit for like 23k, right? That's kind of crazy, and that's outside of the 30% buff. Although you can, if you want to, get that 2% haste. I would never go Short Fiend. I don't think you're ever going to need it. And then the other options here are not that useful. So that's the talent tree build I would go for Prepatch, either this or that. You don't get like new spells in your kit. The only real thing you get that's new is Heal, which is going to be like your long cast, like efficient single target heal. All the healers have this sort of 3 heal structure now, where they have like a heal, a greater heal, and a flash heal. Although because of how Atonement works, you're pretty much always in ICC just going to be using Atonement healing when you would be using this. So you don't really have to pay too much attention to this anymore. Again, you still have basically all the same spells. The big change is Prayer of Healing now has a lower mana cost than your Greater Heal, your Flash Heal, and your Power Word Shield. Your Power Word Shield costs 1200, and your Prayer of Healing costs like 1,000. So your prayer healing is like kind of insanely efficient now. It's just like your bread and butter raid heal. You're not going to be pressing Power Word Shield on CD every global. Power Word Shield also gets nerfed 50% in its duration. On the surface, like you see here, it's absorbing 21k, so that's like bigger than your shield would be in Wrath, right? But that 15% duration is actually huge. It means you can only pre-shield 15 targets with your GCD cap, and that's 15 targets where like it would have to be timed perfectly, where the last shield is like purely timing out. So realistically, you're only going to be able to pre-shield like 10 targets with haste cap. It's like way less efficient, and you are getting that rapture mana back, so it's like pretty costly to do. Also, the way that Divine Aegis works is that it now procs 100% of the time from POH, even if it doesn't crit. So if you're going to be blanketing shields on people, Divine Aegis lasts the same amount as a Power Word shield, but the Divine Aegis from it cumulatively adds to itself and also refreshes. So you can like POH a couple times and get like that 14, 15k absorb pretty quick, and just keep refreshing it with POH, and one POH is less than a Power Word shield, so you can shield like 5 people with a decent absorb for the same price as a Power Word shield. So you're like on Lich King for Infest, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be POHing group 1, POH group 2, POH group 3, POH group 4, and then you can like either leave the melee tank group alone if they're going to be taking cool damage or whatever, or you can do them too, and then you're just going to cycle through until Infest hits. When Infest is casting, you will pre-cast a POH so that it hits right when the Infest hits, and you'll top everyone. And that's how you're going to heal Infest. You're not going to do Power Word shield spam. Although for the other fights that are shorter, you can Power Word shield spam a lot, which is why I got Soul Warding in this spec, just because you're going to have so much mana that it's not really going to matter. Unlike Death Whisper in the last phase, when there's like, ghosts coming out, you can just spam these shields because you're going to have like a decent amount of security that they're going to be absorbed in the next 15 seconds. That's another part of that nerf that's really big, is that you have half the amount of time to have the full absorb become effective, right? So taking 20k damage in 30 seconds is a lot more likely than taking 20k damage in 15 seconds for a raid member. That's like the basic spec for stats. We're going to get Reforging, which is really nice. We're a Haste Mastery spec now, not a just like spell power over everything and then crit as a secondary. That's not as useful. What I would do is, ideally you'd have all like crit haste gear anyways, because that's the like bis, but what I would do is I would reforge Spirit to Mastery, and I would reforge on Haste crit gear, crit to Mastery. You can also go reforging Haste, but because Mastery just scales up all your absorbs, including your Divine Aegis, what I would do is I would go like a full Mastery build, and I would swap on any off pieces you have that have Haste over crit, and yeah, I would just go like full Mastery, because it's just going to make your Divine Aegis like pre-shielding with POH really effective, although it could be correct to go full Haste. I'm not exactly sure, especially given that you're not going to be having your borrowed time uptime as high. Also, because you're casting your other parts of your kit more, like your casted heals more, it's going to be more important to like really optimize your uptime on borrowed time when you do cast Power Word Shield. You're going to want to cast like Power Word Shield Palm, and then a casted heal, Power Word Shield Penance, and then a casted heal, to not drop that when you cast an instant or a channeled. In terms of like on a per boss basis, the only two bosses that really matter and are going to be hard is Hallion and Lich King. So for Lich King, again, you're going to be doing that POH for Infest. Your single target heals are going to be like doing a lot more healing, and your Mastery is going to scale the Divine Aegis up. So your single target healing on the tank is like better now. So don't be afraid to throw some casted heals into the tank. And then Hallion is the other hard fight, right? So Hallion, you're going to be doing the same thing you were doing before, except instead of in the down phase, using most of your globals on Power Word Shield and then healing the tank, you're just going to be POHing, healing the tank, POHing, healing the tank, and you're going to save your weak souls for the rotations, where on the rotations you're moving, right? So you can just spam your Power Word Shield in your palm during that movement, and then occasionally throw a hail into the tank if they're dropping. Your Power Word Shield becomes more of like a movement-specific ability in Cataclysm because of how inefficient it is. So next we'll talk about Glyphs. Glyphs are like super straightforward. It's basically the exact same as it was. Again, this bugged out when I transferred to the beta. You're just gonna grab Penance, Power Word Shield, and Prayer Feeling for your primes, which are like your big throughput glyphs. For majors, you're gonna grab Divine Accuracy, which gives you hit cap. You're gonna grab Smite, which just increases smite damage when your Holy Fire's up. And for the third one, you're going to grab Palm. You're usually going to be chucking your first Palm into the tank, right? And it makes that first charge do 60% more, which is like pretty huge. You can grab like MD and swap it out for fights where MD matters, but like just who cares about this? Just let your Shadow Priest MD. Throughput over utility, right? Who cares? So your majors are pretty set in stone. You're pretty much never going to change those, and your minors are exactly the same as in Wrath. You just get Fort and like Shadow Fiend. So Glyphs, again, super straightforward. Your playstyle is going to be like the thing that changes a lot. You're still going to be using like your Palm on CD when it's going to be effective and get like, more than one bounce. Your Penance is really good for stacking up Grace on the tank, which is 24% now, which is huge. So you're going to want to be like penancing the tank with those borrowed time, with that borrowed time haste. Again, your single target heals are like way better now. Greater healed there for 35k crit without the 30% buff, so like that's bigger than a Holy Light from a Paladin, right? So pretty crazy. Binding heal is efficient when it heals both targets, so keep that in mind. So yeah, you just keep Palm, Penance, try to keep those on CD, get your Rapture procs, spam POH on the raid over Power Word Shield. Try to figure out places where you can weave your Atonement healing in. So like if the whole raid's taking a huge amount of damage if people are low, then you're not going to be wanting to Atonement unless the boss has like a huge damage amp on it. But when there's like low periods of damage, you can use your Atonement to stack up your Archangel. And Holy Fire is way more efficient than Smite, so it's like lower cast time, does more damage, and it puts the dot, which also heals. So that's like a super quick basic overview of how to play. Again, it changes a lot, but really, like, your toolkit isn't that complicated. You're just going to have to break the habit of pressing Power Word Shield every global. So that's Discipline Prepatch. Again, like, the only two bosses that matter are Hellion and Lich King. And Lich King is just going to be POH pre-shielding. And then, like, after the phases where there's no infest, you can just, like, tank heal mostly. Just do, like, maybe a little bit of pre-shielding for, like, spirits, or like for down phase you're going to be Power Word shielding a lot and palming, because in the down phase you have to move, although you can just weave in a few POHs down there as well. So yeah, that's this pre-patch guide, super quick. I might come out with like a in-depth discipline guide for like Kata. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching.